Hello everybody, hope you're all doing well. It's Lane here with MetaShackle. In today's video, I'm basically just going to be going over Bitcoin. As you know, it's been going on an absolute tear since the government shutdown and has absolutely been paying the bills for everybody holding Bitcoin. And congratulations for all the hodlers out there, as I know this must have been an incredible run for you, and it's certainly well deserved. I'll also be doing a video a little bit later tonight going over the XRP chart, but I just wanted to go over the Bitcoin charts in this particular video. So let's not waste any more time and let's get into the charts. For additional information and exclusive perks, do consider joining me and the rest of our community on Patreon. So first off, taking a look at my standard chart, this is the daily chart. We can see that Bitcoin came down here towards the bottom of the Gaussian channel, bounced off of this bullish order block on the 4-hour, and then just literally went on a tear out of nowhere. Now, I've been talking about a short entry in this area of the CME gap for quite some time, as I was looking at it as a short entry area, especially once we got rejected kind of out of the area here. Even though price was coming down, I was still thinking that it was very likely price was going to come up and fill this, especially if we were going to see a move to the downside. But looking at the charts, you can see that not only did it fill the CME gap here, but it blew right through it. It also blew through this bearish fair value gap that had the potential to act as a breaker block, but instead just flat got broken. Now this bearish order block right here on the daily chart, which had an incredible amount of liquidity contained within it, price pushed right through this as well, but it's looking like the candle is not going to close through it. Now, in terms of fair value gaps and bearish order blocks, your candles can wick through these, but what does the damage and actually fills the gap is by getting a candle close through it, like we can see here on the fair value gap, which is now filled. So this will be very interesting to see how this turns out, because it looks to me like, especially heading into the weekend, that if we're going to get a retracement or some kind of a pullback, there's a very good chance it could happen tomorrow or Sunday. But as we've seen in the past, sometimes, the people that have missed out on these big moves, they get their paychecks on Friday, they get them deposited into the bank, and then come Saturday morning, we get a really nice move in the early hours heading up to about noon, at least where I'm at here in the Mountain Time Zone. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens with Bitcoin tomorrow morning. I'll definitely be watching. And I just want to show you here as well, when price came down here with Bitcoin, we had this weak doji reverse waterfall right here, which was filled. Now, I often tell you that these weak dojis can act as price targets or potential reversals. And as you can see here, this particular weak doji acted perfectly with a double bottom candle pattern right here and a sharp reversal of price into what we can see, filling this particular weak doji. But overall, this looks absolutely incredible. Price just tore out of here like nobody's business. And swinging over to my other daily chart, which I have the Elliott Waves laid out on, we can see that this point here where the previous all-time high was actually the ending of 3 wave 5s. So essentially it's a fifth of a fifth of a fifth. Coming down into this 5-wave impulsive move to the downside, it looks like what we're dealing with here is an A, B, and a C to the upside. Now, if this is in fact a C wave here, it would be invalidated if it moves past the all-time high right here, at least in my opinion. And it's very close. It didn't quite get to that point, but it is very, very close. So what's the alternative? Well, if the price continues up, takes out this previous all-time high, it would be moving into this area of resistance right here between the 1.618 and the 1.786, with the 1.786 resting right in about that 127,000 area. So if this ABC is invalidated, there's a very good chance that what we're looking at here would not be an ABC, but could potentially, in fact, be a start of a whole new pattern, is this being a potential wave 1 moving up into the wave 3, which could take us up into a wave 4 and potentially even a wave 5, assuming that that's the case. We'll have to see how this wave C turns out. As of right now, I'm counting it as a C, which I'm sure most people are doing, but if it pushes above this, in my mind, that changes things considerably. But we would want to see this push up higher, because in doing so, it will drag these fib levels right up along with it. And in doing this, it takes the 0.382 with it, because we would want to see the 0.382 above the wave 1 termination. As it sits right now, if this is the termination point on this wick here, you can see that 3.82 is resting right near the wave 1 termination. And generally, your wave 3 moving into the wave 4, the wave 4 will retrace to the 3.82. Sometimes it retraces to the 0.5 fib, but in this case, that would invalidate the pattern crossing the wave 1 termination. So if we could get a little bit of an additional push right here, assuming that this was a wave 3, dragging these fib levels up a little bit higher with it, that would raise that 0.382 up just enough to where this retracement could in fact be valid. Now this is probably the least likely scenario, the fact that this could be a 5-wave move to the upside starting a whole new pattern. As it sits right now, this being an ABC fits the best. So we want to watch this potential all-time high right here, because that will help us to determine the proper wave count. And if this is a 5-wave move to the upside, there's probably a lot more in store as far as price appreciation, as far as the way it's laid out. And it looks very proportionate for what could potentially be a 5-wave impulse to the upside. Now, if it turns out that this is not a wave 5 and is the ABC, that could be bad news, because this could be followed by an impulsive wave to the downside. So we want to be very careful right here. If you missed this move and you haven't gotten in already, I would be very cautious about entering here or on any pullbacks unless the price moves up higher towards this 1.618, perhaps the 1.702 previous to retracing. I would not want to get caught entering here just to watch this impulse to the downside. So now is a time to be cautious if you missed the move, and if you did catch this move, it might not be a bad idea to take some of your money off the table, take some profits, because we still don't know how this is going to play out. And one of the most important parts about trading, at least in my opinion, is always taking profits. As the price is moving up, just gradually start shaving some of those profits off the table. Sure, you might miss out on a percentage of gains to the upside, but you're locking in profits, and in doing so, you're reducing your risk and protecting portions of your capital. Because without capital, you cannot trade. Don't let the greed get to you. We're all guilty of this. Every last trader on earth is guilty of this. But gradually peeling profits off is a great way to protect yourself, especially if you see a sharp downturn, because then that way you are taking profits along the way. So this is what I'm going to be watching for. I want to know, is this a wave C? If this pushes up into these levels here, could this potentially actually be a wave 3 termination to where we'd come back for a wave 4 and then a wave 5 moving up even higher? Because when we come down on these subwaves, down on the hourly chart, you can see with this count right here, getting rid of this and going to the count on this particular wave, you can see that this essentially came up as a 5-wave impulse with an extremely overextended 5th wave. It's not very often you see a wave of that magnitude. You'll see extended 5ths quite often, but a lot of times it's generally something like this. I mean, this last push right here, assuming that's what it is, man, it really went the distance. This is a chart that I shared with my Patreon members yesterday, which is MSTR, and it showed a bullish hidden divergence forming right here on the chart that you can clearly see between the indicator and the price action. Price had been trading within this channel for quite some time, getting towards the bottom. It was actually looking very bearish until this bullish hidden divergence formed. And I don't know if you can hear that thunder and lightning and the rain going on in the background, but it looks like we're about to get stormed on. Something ferocious right now. But when we jump over to the chart, MSTR made a heck of a move. And what originally had me concerned about this was all of these volume imbalances that are resting below current price. because oftentimes price will fill these before moving significantly higher. So as price was reaching the bottom trend line of this channel, it seemed like to me, at the very least, what we were going to see is this wave come down here and at least fill these two volume imbalances. But obviously that didn't happen. But it actually did kind of tip us off to the fact that we were about to see a decent move in Bitcoin just because of the fact that we have this bullish hidden divergence. Price was trading down towards the bottom of this channel, and by looking at the CCI here, it even looks like it could be setting up for a much higher move to the upside. So if that's the case with MSTR, then perhaps it is likely that we're actually seeing the third wave of a 5-wave impulse to the upside rather than an ABC. So this could be giving us a clue. Because in regard to looking at the CCI, you can see how it's setting up here with the blue line popping up, and we're about to get a crossover here. And generally when you see this happen up above this bottom white line like we do right here, you will get a nice push to the upside. That's one reason why I love the CCI so much, is because it really tips you off with these crossovers. You can see right here the last time this same setup happened, we had this incredible move to the upside. It was even gapping. So keep your eye on MSTR for potential clues heading into next week, because it definitely tipped us off to the move that we saw in Bitcoin. I don't know if you can hear those raindrops, but it sure is coming down out there right now. It's funny. The second you go to shoot a video, all of a sudden it's thunder and lightning, wind blowing, rainstorms, raindrops smashing up against the glass. You just gotta love this construct we live in. And if you've been thinking about leverage trading, or you're just looking for a place to swap your cryptos for 0 fees, don't waste your money swapping cryptos and paying exorbitant fees, because you can do it as long as the trading pairs are supported on BitUnix. Definitely want to check it out. You'll be glad you did. But thank you so much for watching. Keep your eyes peeled for my XRP video coming up a little bit later. Congratulations to all the Bitcoin holders. Good luck and have a great day.